यार आज हमारे साथ है अनीश। अनीश भाई अभी सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में।
Software engineering is like 30% coding, 40% design, and the rest 40% can be like attending meetings or like code review.
हेलो दोस्तों, दिस इज बरकतुल। वेलकम टू हैक फॉर कोड। हेलो दोस्तों, दिस इज बरकतुल। वेलकम टू हैक फॉर कोड। यार आज हमारे साथ है अनीश। अनीश भाई अभी सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में। सो हाय अनीश,
Hi, hi.
कैसे हो आप?
So सब कुछ बढ़िया चल रहा है लाइक अभी नेक्स्ट वीक ज्वाइनिंग है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में तो a little bit anxious but at the same time a little bit busy because सब कुछ ढूंढना पड़ रहा है पीजी लाइक फ्लैट्स एंड ऑल एंड बैंगलोर में लाइक पीजीज एंड फ्लैट्स मिलना काफी मुश्किल है तो
आई होप कि आपको फ्लैट्स भी कुछ भी अच्छा सा मिल जाए। सो अपने एक्सपीरियंस के बारे में थोड़ा बताएंगे, जैसे कि हमें पता है कि आप मीडिया डॉट नेट में एज ए इंटर्न भी रह चुके हैं और इनफैक्ट माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में भी एज ए इंटर्न काम कर चुके हैं। तो उसके बारे में अगर कुछ एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करना चाहें आप।
हाँ तो first I would like to tell about my educational background and then about I will tell about my career background. So I did my bachelor's from IIT Shipur and I did my graduation in computer science and technology and I graduated last month. And if I talk about my career, so I interned at Microsoft last summer as a software engineer intern. And this winter, I interned at Media.net again as a software engineer intern. And apart from that, I have worked at Lead Code and HackerRank as a problem setter or a problem adder. So that's mostly about my career. And apart from that, if I talk about my coding skills, so I love doing DS and CP, but I also love developing things and doing development. So mainly I do backend development, but sometimes I also explore front end as well.
Interesting. Have you got the PPO from your after your internship from Microsoft? Yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations on receiving a PPO, by
yeah,
the way.
thank you. Yeah, so I got a PPO after the completion of my Microsoft, and I also got a full-time offer from media as well. Like for media, like I got the FTE before doing the internship as only. So it was a package kind of a thing. Like I was offered 6 month internship along with the FTE. Okay, so that. But for Microsoft, like I did the internship, and based on my internship performance, they offered me a full-time role.
Is there have they interviewed you or something like? No interview.
When I was interning, after interning, there was only one round of PPO interview. That was also not very technical. The interview was based upon like what was your internship experience, what did you build, what was the impact of your project, and something like those kind of stuffs. Like mostly about what you did in the internship and what impact did you create while working at Microsoft. So that was one round, and but for the internship, like getting the internship, there was obviously technical and DSA rounds.
So what was the interview process of that?
Yeah, for the internship process, like it was an on-campus opportunity, so Microsoft visits our campus every year. So first of all, there was a online coding round, OA what we call it. So in OA there were two questions and we are given 90 minutes. So I solved both of them, and I guess people who solved at least one and a half and had a good resume and a CGPA, they were shortlisted for the interviews. And then there were three rounds of interviews, like two of them were DSA, and the third round was HR and project round. Okay.
Oh, interesting. What do you think? How important is having a pro-level competitive programming experience to land an software engineering internship, and then after getting a PPO from Microsoft? Like, what advice do you have for candidates who may be starting from scratch and figuring out whether they should do CP or development if they wants to get into a FANG like Microsoft and Google, something like?
Yeah, so first of all, like I would say that CP is not compulsory, first of all, but it definitely helps because in online coding rounds, it is purely CP based. And if you don't do well in online assessments or online coding rounds, you don't get to the interviews. But once you have passed the online coding round, like after that, you don't need CP. So after the online round, it's mostly DSA. And for DSA also, like it's mostly medium and medium hard level. They don't also ask hard level lead code questions. So after the online round is over, there is no need of CP. Like CP doesn't play a role after you are shortlisted for interviews. Okay, so if you get shortlisted for interviews by any chance or by any means, you don't need CP afterwards. But before that, for shortlisting the resume, for solving the problems in the OA, you definitely need hands-on experience with CP. I'm not saying that you need to be a very you need to be very pro or very good at CP, but you should definitely have some hands-on experience on CP because you should be able to execute your code in a timely manner with means without having many bugs, and you have to pass the test cases, as simple as that. So I would say that you should have around like 6 months or 9 months of experience in CP so that you can execute or solve the two problems in a specific time period.
Interesting. Indeed, you have pointed great points. So, tell us more about your internship experiences. Like, of course, the interview round of your job was around days only. How was your experience? What did you face? And so, is there any interesting projects or any interesting uh, incident that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so like during my internship, so I was given a full stack project, to be very honest. So I can't disclose the details of the exact details of the project, but I can
Mm-hmm.
give an overview what I did. So Microsoft previously used a third party app or a third party API for implementing some kind of functionality. So my work was to use Microsoft's own API and remove that third-party integration and integrate Microsoft's own API. Okay, so the project was not very tough. I like, at least for me, it was not very tough because I did have some experience in software development beforehand as well. So I just have to write. I just wrote an wrapper class of the API and just integrated the API. So I would say that anyone just starting out their software journey or something, like software engineering is like 30% coding, 40% design, and the rest 40% can be like attending meetings or like code reviews or any other things. Okay, so like in software engineering, you don't always write code. Like I wrote code only for 2 or 3 weeks in my 9 weeks internship. For the rest weeks, I was just reading through the code base, understanding the code base. I proposed my design. I proposed how I will code and integrate the API to my mentor first. Then my mentor approved the code design. And after the code design was done, I did 2 weeks of coding, and then there was code reviews that whether my code is clean and readable and follows the coding practice of the particular database or not. And after that, like it was reviewed by my manager, and that was the whole implementation of the project. So one thing I learned in that internship is that you don't jump into coding straight away. So there are many steps before coding. Okay, like first you have to tell the design, then you have to get your design approved, and so on.
Yeah, interesting, very interesting. So we have few questions for you from our community, and the first one is from Sadia. So here's the question: as a fresher applying for Microsoft, will they be interviewed about system designs?
Uh, I would say that if you are giving a PPO interview, yes, like I didn't have a system design round or a system design interview, since I feel that I had a strong positive feedback from my manager. But let's say if you have a medium kind of a feedback from your manager, or you don't have a very strong feedback from your manager, you will have to give PPO interviews. And in PPO interviews, they can literally ask you anything: CS fundamentals, system design, and even DSA. Okay, so it's better to be prepared with system design for PPO interviews. But for internship, if you are interviewing for internship, you definitely don't need system design. System design is generally asked in like full-time roles or PPO interviews.
Interesting. And the next question is from Asher. So, how important are projects if one is applying to Microsoft, and is it necessary that projects should be made on the latest tech stack? If not, will it affect them in any sense?
First of all, like the tech stack of your project doesn't matter at all. Okay, so what matters in your project is that what your project is solving. Okay, so as a software engineer, your responsibility to the society or to the humanity as a whole is to solve problems through writing code. Okay, so whenever you are building a project or something, you should aim that it is solving a real life problem, or it is reducing the manual effort of a person. Okay, so if your project is very simple but it is solving a real life problem, or like if it is helping the society in any way, so that will be considered as a good project. On the other hand, let's say you have implemented a very heavy project using a very heavy tech stack or something, a complex project, but it's not solving any unique problem, or it's not uh, doing any good to the society or good to any some particular uh, person or a company. Okay, so that won't be considered as a good project. So a good project is a project which is solving a real life problem, as simple as that. So if it is solving something, it's a good project. Like when what I had in my project was a very simple website. Like it is a static website using React.js. Any first year student will build that. But the objective was of the project was that, like, during the pandemic, many of the freshers couldn't visit the campus, so they had very little knowledge about the campus. Okay, so we built that website to provide knowledge to the freshers, like about the hostels we have, about the administration structure we have, about the placement statistics that we have. We also integrated a map of our campus so that people can know about the campus while sitting at home and not feel that this pandemic has taken out 2 years from their college life. Okay, so that was the motive of the project. So that's why, in spite of being such a simple project, like the interviewers appreciated my project and the initiative. So whenever you are building a project, make sure that you solve a real life problem, or you try to reduce manual labor, or try to reduce some cost of any operations or something. Means it should do some kind of good to mankind or society.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question is from Karthik, and he's asking, how valuable is CGPA while applying for Microsoft?
If you are applying for on campus, like Microsoft also doesn't hire off campus much. So like most of the hires come from on campus. And not only in Microsoft, like in on campus openings, CGPA plays a very important role. Okay, so let me tell you that if you don't have a minimum CGPA means if you don't clear the minimum CGPA cutoff, you don't get to even give the OS. Okay, so
And
even
what
if
is the
you
minimum CGPA cutoff?
like for us it was 7.5, but that if you even have a 7.5, and let's say you could solve only 1.5 problems. Okay, so there is a high chance that you will not be shortlisted. Okay, so if you are very good at programming or competitive coding, and if you solve two problems, then I think you can compensate for the low CGPA. Okay, but let's say if you solve only 1.5 problems and you also have a low CGPA like 7.6, 7.7, okay, so then there are high chances that you won't be shortlisted. Okay, so keeping your CGPA high means that you have a higher chance of getting shortlisted. Okay, so one thing that also happens is that, like, if many people solve two problems, okay, so let's say they are planning to shortlist around 50 students for the interviews, and let's say they have like 70 students have solved both the questions or all the questions. So then they shortlist with CGPA. Okay, so they take the top 40 students who have solved two problems and have the highest CGPA. So they arrange the students in the decreasing order of the CGPA, and they shortlist 40 or 50 students. Okay, so always maintain a high CGPA, and a high CGPA always helps in on-campus opportunities. Okay, so don't neglect your CGPA.
Thanks for answering this question. So here's the last question from the community, and it's also from Ashar. If someone is looking for a referral, what exactly does the other person want on their resume? Like any good projects or a good coding profile?
It can be a mix of both. Like whenever you are asking for a referral, so think from the point of view of a referral. Like when someone wants to refer you, he wants to make sure that this person goes on to be hired. Okay, so if someone is hired through some means his or her referral, he gets a referral bonus, and people have a limited quantity of referrals they can give. Okay, so they want to maximize the chances that if I refer this person has a very high chance of getting hired. Okay, so this is the psychology like by which people tend to refer. So your resume should create an impression that you have the capability of getting hired if you get the interview call. Okay, and your resume is strong enough to get an interview call. Okay, so it can be anything. Like if you have a very good open source contributions, like you have done some of Bitcoin, MLH, or any other good open source contributions, so that also suggests that you have a very good strong resume. Also, let's say if you are not into open source, you are doing CP, and you have a very good profile, like you are purple or candidate master or master or 5 or 6 star on Code Chef, or even in ICPC you have done well. So you should be good in a particular field. Like you should prove your talent in a particular field. Okay, so that's the point. Like if you are doing open source, you must showcase your talent in the field of open source. If you are doing CP, you should showcase your talent in CP, so that the person who is referring must have some evidence that no, this person is capable of doing software engineering, he has the skills, he has proven his skills in this field. So I think if I refer him or her, uh, he or she has a very good chance of getting hired. So that's the motive of getting referrals from a particular person.
Yeah. Thanks for answering this question. And let's conclude this with the last question. This is from my side. Any three
Okay.
pieces of advice you want to give someone who is typically a CP lover and also for development oriented candidates and want to work in FAANG, but FAANG doesn't come into their colleges. Like uh, they are looking for an off-campus opportunities. Other than maybe Microsoft doesn't hire off-campus, but if any other FAANG company does, so what are the three advices you want to give them?
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to list out the off-campus opportunities that these companies have. Like Microsoft does hire off-campus, but the hire means they off-campus hirings are very very rare. Okay, so Amazon and Google like hires off-campus as well. But the three pieces of advice is that don't waste time in college. The first 3 years in college is very very important, and you will never get those 3 years back. The amount of work or learnings you can have in the first 3 years of your college is unparalleled. Like you can literally go and learn anything in the first 3 years of college. And the reasons behind this is that like you don't have any internship pressure in the first 3 years. You don't have any responsibilities in the first 3 years, because you are still a student, so you can go out and explore anything. Okay, so this first 3 years, don't waste time. I would say that maintain a good CGPA, but don't try to be the topper of your class. That doesn't help in any way. Try to maintain a good CGPA. 8.5 should be ideal enough, but don't push beyond that. Okay, so utilize that time to build your CP skills, your development skills, and at the same time start networking, because networking will help you. It will help you to get opportunities, it will help you to get referrals. And when you are doing both CP and development, like try to focus on one, become very good in one of them, and also try to do or have some knowledge in the other field. Because let's say if you are doing CP, do some kind of development, because in internship you will not be doing CP, you will be doing
Right.
proper development out there. You should have some knowledge of development, and that will help you in internship to complete your project in a timely manner. Similarly, if you are into development, you should try your hands in CP, because interviews will be CP and DSA oriented. Okay, so both things will be necessary. So do both of them. If you like one of them, devote more time to that, become skilled in that, but don't neglect the other, because that will be helpful. And don't try not to waste in the first 3 years of your college life. That 3 years can make or break your career. Okay, so if you work hard
Plus
in
one.
those 3 years, if you work hard in those 3 years, you can enjoy the last year of your college, and that will also put you like 5 years ahead in life. Because if you get a good internship, getting a PPO is far easier than getting a full-time offer without an internship. Okay, so this is one piece of like I would say the first two pieces of advice. And the third piece of advice is that, like, I know this is recession time, like openings are less, but I would say that keep on hitting people, like keep on cold mailing people for uh, openings. Like you can try in startups. Okay, like startups pay as well, or they pay even more than FAANGs. Like some startups pay more than FAANG as well. Okay, so
Right.
don't limit your opportunities to FAANG. Startup means try out startups. Okay, try out well funded startups, I would say. Like Cred is one of them, like Navi is there, media.net. Okay, so try out startups as well. Startups also has a very good work life balance, they also have a very good pay. So that's the third piece of advice, that don't limit your opportunities to these 3 or 4 companies. There are plenty of startups which are well funded, they pay well, and some startups also pay more than FAANG as well. Okay, and they also provide plenty of perks. Okay, so for example, some of the perks that Cred provide is that, like, they give you advanced salary. Like on the first day of joining, they give you the first month's salary. Okay, so I also got an offer from Cred as well, like full time and 6 months. So so Cred also has a lot of perks, like you get advanced salary, like you also get a MacBook free. Like even if you leave Cred, they don't take back the MacBook. Okay, so startups also have a lot of perks as well. So that's the third thing, that try out different companies. Startup culture in India is booming, so don't limit yourself to FAANG. Working in startups can also give you a better learning curve. So that's the third piece of advice.
Yeah, indeed, great three pieces of advices you have given. So, thank you so much, Anish. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
precious time. And I hope जो भी लोग आज के पॉडकास्ट देखे, उनका बहुत सारा डाउट्स क्लियर हो गया होगा. और अगर आपको भी इसी तरह पॉडकास्ट का हिस्सा बनना है, कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछने हैं हमारे गेस्ट से, तो आप अभी डिस्क्रिप्शन में जाके व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप हमारा ज्वाइन करें और हैशटैग आस्क कम्युनिटी करके अपना क्वेश्चंस ड्रॉप करें. और अगर आपको आज का वीडियो अच्छा लगा तो प्लीज़ लाइक करें, कमेंट करें और शेयर करें अपने दोस्तों के साथ. एंड या अनीश, थैंक्स फॉर ज्वाइनिंग.
Thank you. It was lovely talking to you. Yeah.